We've all done it. You're driving down 30A. You see this beautiful house and you're wondering, how much does that cost? Chris Fox, Fox Construction, Tailored Custom Homes. Today we're going to be going over the true cost of building a tailored custom home here on the Emerald Coast. Before we get into that, I want to give you a shortcut. Go to foxluxurybuilder.com/free-resources. Click on the link below and that'll give you this resource where you can go start playing around with building your own custom home. There's going to be a lot of information. If you want to skip around, we've got it broken up into chapters, and if you want the real shortcut, click on the link below for the free resources on the website. The first portion of this is buying the land. You've got to have the dirt to be able to build the house on. One of the hardest parts in this area that a lot of people come in that don't realize is the dirt has real value. Even if there's an existing home on it that's a tear down, that home has value because as long as it's habitable, it's rentable if it's in a rental area. And one of the hard things is they're not making any more land along, the Emerald Coast. So the further you get away from the beach, the cheaper the land gets, but the closer you are, people know that if they hold on to it long enough, they're going to be able to get their asking price. So that becomes difficult. You have to find people that are interested in really getting that sale, or people that have already made their money on it. They bought it for, $40,000, 15 years ago, and they're just ready to cash out. When you get to those situations, you can really take advantage of it and be able to get a lot at a great price. But it's searching those out and making sure when you're purchasing these lots, they don't come with a whole lot of constraints. The lot isn't built at the land isn't a slope like this, or, there's not a lot of headaches with having to go to the Florida DEP because there's wetlands on it, and you have wetlands mitigations, which we've done, and we can walk you through if you end up with one of those lots. But there's just a lot of complications, and sometimes that's the best play. You can find a lot and it's cheap enough, and you can convince the person to sell it to you at a great price because it's got wetlands mitigation needed on it. But now they're able to sell it to you for $400,000 instead of $700,000. So you may be able to work through that. But getting the dirt at the right price is going to be one of the biggest challenges to that, and getting a builder that can help you understand what you need to be able to work through that is going to be helpful. Because the first question everybody always asks is, how much is the lot? Where is it located? The second question is, what can I put on that lot and how much is it going to cost to build it? And that's where we can really help you out with that. And as far as the different lots go, you can find some still on 30A between that $300,000 to $500,000, and then it pretty much goes into like a $800,000, and then once you start getting into the $800,000 to the $1.3 million, it really starts getting fun if you're able to tackle those kind of projects. The $300,000 to $500,000 are going to be, in HOA-restricted neighborhoods, or ones that can have potential additional land development costs, whether it's through the DEP that we discussed, or whether it's through topography of the lot, because not all lots are built the same. If you have a flat lot, you're not going to spend a whole lot in the foundation. If you have a sloped lot, you're going to spend more in the foundation. It gives you an advantage to be able to potentially do a walkout basement or do something custom with it to give it a great feel, because we have people coming from all over the place, Tennessee, northern Alabama, some places in Georgia. They have these walkout basements, so that gives them a good feeling when they're in them, but the cost of it is a little bit more. And that's where you're at in the $300,000 to $500,000 range. Once you start getting into the $500,000 to the $800,000 range, you start alleviating yourself of some of those problems depending on where it's located. But at that price point, you're typically a little bit closer to the beach. You're either in, a neighborhood that doesn't have a whole lot of restrictions on it, or it's closer to the beach and you're better walking distance. Once you get into that $800,000 to the $1.3 million range, that's when you're really close to the beach. Gulfront is still, $6 million right now, but you start getting much closer to the beach. You might be able to pick up a lot. There's some in Camp Creek right now. Great neighborhood, great building opportunities there. Call me if you have any questions on that one. But the $800,000 to $1.3 million, there's plenty of opportunities, and that's where you can really build some of those estate-style homes. The lots can fit it. Seagrove has some really good opportunities in there. There's great places even getting close to the bay if that's going to be your play, if it's going to be a primary, secondary, and you're not worried about the rental. So there's just plenty of opportunities in those three price zones for the lot. Now let's talk about the hard costs, the actual building, the foundation, the walls that are going on it, the roof, the windows specifically. There's a lot of things in our area that people, when they're used to building, Midwest, East Coast, Texas, they're used to, in a lot of cases, lower labor costs and lower building restrictions. One of the things that we suffer around here is that H word that nobody likes to talk about that requires us to have much higher standards. We have to have 150-mile-an-hour standards for our buildings. And there's a lot of things that go on to that. We're required by almost every engineer to use southern yellow pine. That comes with some restrictions. Why? Because it's got the good tensile strength on it and compression. It's got it in both orientations rather than using lodgepole or Douglas fir or some of these other things that can be cheaper and found geographically in different areas and lower costs. With all the strapping that we have to do to keep the roof on in case there is a weather event that it needs to go through. But one of the great things is because we're building to these restrictions, the buildings are significantly more resilient. One of the other things that's a bigger cost impact are the doors and windows. So if you go to your Lowe's or Home Depot, in Chicago, and you go look at them and you're like, man, these are only $150. You come down here, some of these windows are, the vinyl windows are $600. The aluminum clad windows, can be $1,000 or more just for the window. And that really adds up. People want a lot of that natural light. So you're not just gonna have a 3,000 square foot home with one small window in the bedroom. You're gonna have 4 of them. You either have a view, you're looking at, a potential Gulf view, you're looking at, the lake behind you, you're looking at the natural forest behind you, even the retention ponds, those look great. Then they do a ton of those around here with their fountains and their little walking trails around them. Putting these extra windows in there really gives your home that livable feeling, but again, there's an additional cost to those. So there's just a lot of things that go on to this that start adding additional costs. Included with that is the labor side of it. In the Emerald Coast, it is a straight line along the coast. We're building straight across. We're not building, Dallas, Fort Worth, Atlanta. They're able to build in a circle. They're able to go all the way around. They're able to expand in this direction. We can't. We only have a small sliver that's going to be, Gulf Coast, just in that narrow margin. So everybody who is north of that is going to be where we're going to be pulling our labor pool from. But there's just so many things that go along with that because people getting here, you need to have the transportation, straight down. The traffic that involves with it. Not saying you don't have traffic in Dallas, Fort Worth, or Atlanta. I know you'll have traffic. But in the areas where a lot of these developments are going on are on the outskirts. Yes, if you're doing a remodel in the heart of, Buckhead, then yes, you're gonna have that travel time. But a lot of the areas that are on the outskirts where they're doing these big, massive builds, it's not, you're not constrained by a lot of those things, and you're closer to where a lot of the workers are living. We're not that close to where the workers are living, and that extra additional commute creates a different cost. Not only that, but I talked to a builder from Atlanta the other day, and we were comparing costs to the 2x4 studs, and it's significantly more expensive here. Why? Because the land it's sitting on is more expensive. The gas is slightly more expensive. The insurance, for that building is more expensive. The cost to repair the vehicle that's delivering it is more expensive. Why? Because a lot of the labor closer to the coast is significantly more expensive. And with all the labor force that we're bringing in here, all of these men and women, they are definitely true custom builders. They know how to do this stuff. They're doing it with all these restrictions and rules that we're required to build by, and they're building these beautiful custom homes. And because the price points of some of the builds go up, the expectations go up. The walls have to be straighter, the trim has to be truer, the paint has to be smoother. So we're bringing in all of these great people to all these great projects at a slightly higher cost than maybe in some of the other areas. But that's part of what builds the majesty of the Emerald Coast. And because of that, building a tailored custom home here is a true legacy home. Now that we have all the walls, the roof, the insides, the HVAC, all that stuff in place, now we're to the finishes. And this is the stuff that everybody gets excited about. So you're talking about the lighting fixtures, the plumbing fixtures, the tile, the trim carpenters, woodwork, all these great things. There is a cost to those. A lot of people are wanting to use marble or travertine, these natural stones that may be found more locally in other areas or closer to port cities or where they're mass bringing this stuff in. But when we're doing these true custom homes, you're getting some one-off pieces, or we're getting a lot of stuff out of Atlanta. A lot of the stuff that we're ordering from tile, or whether it's the white oak, a lot of that stuff isn't being produced here, so that does tend to inflate the cost slightly, but it's what everybody wants, it's what they're getting accustomed to, and it really tailors these homes to be really magical, really special, and building these true legacy homes requires this level of finish, and we are really excited to bring that to life. But the problem is, it comes with a slightly increased cost. For those of you that are looking to make the investment here, whether it's for your primary, secondary, rental, or doing something speculative, really the nuts and bolts of this is there's been appreciation in this market from 2012 through 2020. We were seeing between 6 and 8% appreciation every year. Anybody who's been paying attention knows that prices skyrocketed between 2020 and 2022. With interest rates going up and so many people coming to Florida, the prices of the houses softened between 2023 and 2025. With that, the land prices pretty much stayed solid. Reason why is what we were talking about earlier about the lot value, how there's just a lot of people that know if they keep that lot long term, they're gonna be able to sell it for at least what they want now, if not more. So one of the things when they come to me, they ask me, what can we build? How much is the return gonna be? When are we gonna see our money back? Depending on where you're going, how much you're customizing it, where your ultimate goal is, whether it is to live in the house as a full-time, or I've had plenty of people that want to move here in retirement, and so they purchase, the land now, we build now, and they rent it for 3, 5, 8 years in preparation because they know that they're going to be priced out of the market if they wait too long. Because even with the couple of years that we've had some price corrections, long-term appreciation is still there. Anybody who bought, prior to 2021 is still doing very well. If you're looking at this as an investment property, and you're going to come down here and utilize it, you get to, absorb the cost that you would normally spend on renting it for a week. It's $2,000 to $8,000 to rent these houses for a week. You come down 6 times a year, you're saving all that money. You're now not only investing in a property that has, strong potential to appreciate, but you're also investing in your lifestyle. You're also investing in long-term legacy of the home. And on that note, the short-term rentals, there are many of these homes that we're building, even on the lower end, that are doing 6 figures. There's a house that we built 2 years ago that it's generating $380,000 a year in rental. Now these are some of the more expensive homes, but at the same token, these things can really bring in a tremendous amount of money. Let's get into the numbers. Based upon our historical data, we're building anywhere between $275 a square foot and $600 a square foot. The reason why there's such a big, difference in between the prices is because those are totally different houses. If you're building, our what I would call our base level, which has much higher finishes than the average bear. But if we're doing that level at that $275 a square foot, we're still doing, smooth walls. We're still putting receptacles in the baseboards. We're still doing a lot of these upgraded finishes in the houses, but that's basically where we start. And once we get up, we'll start getting more custom features. We'll start adding the pools to it to get to the 300s. And then you'll start getting into, towers when you start getting into the 400s. And then you start putting countertops up the walls and lots of beams or coffered ceilings into the 500s. Or complicated lots where there's a foundation issue, or you've got an extensive exfiltration system, or a really bang up landscape package, or your backyard is this, oasis. Or what we've really enjoyed doing is putting the block walls for the backyard fencing. And there's just a lot of these custom features that go beyond just the sticks and bricks of it that start building up the price model. But we can do an amazing house at that $275 a square foot, and we can do one that's stellar going into the 500s. Appreciate y'all listening in. If you're interested in finding out how much your tailored custom home is going to be, check out our link below. Give us a call, DM us, leave a comment. We're happy to talk this through with you, and you can use our free resource on the website to start working your way into your legacy home.